Welcome back to Pine Hollow Quilts, everyone. This is our April quilt along. This month I've got something very easy for you to do. You can either use a jelly roll, you can use a jelly roll with coordinating fabric, or you can just use plain yardage that you happen to have in your stock. Again, this, like all of the other videos, you don't need to go out and buy anything that you have. We're focusing on using what's in your stash and the tools that you currently have. So for today's video, what I've done is chosen two solids that I have. I've got this pretty red, and it's got some kind of floral on it, and then I've got this yellow. Not coordinating at all, not from the same line, just two fabrics that were sitting over there, excuse me, in my stash, yelling and screaming, use me, use me. So this is what I'm doing. We're going to use them today. Now, the sizes that I'm going to cut 2.5-inch strips, and I'm going to cut them at the same time, just because it makes it easier for me. And all that's going to take is for me is to line up the bottom fold, trim off my edges so that I have them even, and I'm just going to start cutting my strips, and that way I'm getting both colors at the same time. You can Okay, so here we are at the sewing machine, and I have my strip sets already cut. I'm going to use the yellow for my darker this time, and I have 3 of those, and the red is going to be for the other 2 strips. Remember, we need sets of 5, so we're going to do a strip set of the 5 strips. This is my second set of strips that I've made. The first set actually had the reds. This red fabric I had 3 of, and the yellow fabric I had 2 of. And I'm going to show you those results at the end in several ways that you could go ahead and rearrange these. But for now, just go ahead and make your strip sets however you choose to make your strip sets. Doesn't matter if it's light and dark, if you're using prints and solids, if you're using a jelly roll and you're doing lights and darks. However you want to make your strip sets, just make them 5 strips wide. And you're going to get an interesting turnout when we get to the very end. I'm going to go ahead and continue sewing all of these, and I will be back with you as soon as I get the strip set pressed and ready to trim. All right, here we are back with our sewn strip set, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow, 5 strips. So what I'm going to do now is trim off my one end so that I can start. And I'm using a 12.5 by 12.5 inch ruler just because that's what I have. But like I said, if you're using 2.5 inch strips, you're going to be cutting a 10.5 inch square. If you're using any other size strips, it's not hard to figure it out. Just measure what it is when you get done, and that'll be it. Okay, so 10.5 inch squares if you are using the full length of either your yardage, which is between 42 and 44 inches wide, or if you're using full strips on a jelly roll set, you're going to get 4 10.5 inch squares out of each jelly roll strip set. And that will actually be ideal for when we get to that point, because we're going to cut these squares into quarter square triangles. And then we're going to do some fun rearranging. Now when we get to that point, I have 2 that I've already laid out for you. Nothing is sewn together because I still want to play, as you should. You know, you've got plenty of time to do this. You've got all the creativity that you don't think that you have, but you really do. You know, go ahead and expand on that creativity and see what you can come up with. That's the little bit that I have left from this strip set. This was the little bit that I had from the other end. That's all the more that's being wasted out of these strip sets. We're going to use everything else. So now that you have your 10.5-inch square cut, we're going to cut these into quarter square triangles. And all that means is just cut from corner to corner, both directions. You could stack these and cut them. I really want them very close to corner as much as I can physically do that. So therefore, I am cutting them individually. If you have a rotating mat, this would be a good place to use it. And I'm going to separate these so that I've got the two with the yellow long strips together, and then I've got these two together. And there'll be a reason for that in just a few minutes. So go ahead and cut out your squares. I'm going to finish doing those right now. And we'll just keep talking here while I try and do this quickly. So yeah, you can do this with any different colors, like I said. Oops. Let's make sure they stay together there. And then once you find your final layout that you really like, perhaps even love, then you'll be stitching them together with 1/4-inch seams, and you're going to have another awesome piece of work. So I have those like that. That's my second one. Third one's coming up. Yes, this takes a little bit of time to do these, but not much. It just seems like it's a long time when you're sitting there watching me cut these. However, you should be stitching along with me, and you should be cutting your own. I would hope that you are stitching along with me and trying out these new techniques to use up your stash and use the tools that you already have. And even if you did not have a 10.5-inch square, yes, somebody needs a new rotary blade. Even if you did not have a 10.5-inch or even a 12.5-inch square ruler to cut, it's not a big deal. You can just use the lines on your mat. I don't normally recommend you use your lines on your mat, but hey, if it's what you have, then it's what you have. You know, the goal of this video series is not to have you go out and buy anything new. I'm not trying to sell anything. I don't have anything to sell. But I'm trying to find ways for you, the average quilter, 1, to save money, 2, to use up your stash, and 3, just to enjoy the whole process of quilting. Because like I've said before, there are no quilting police in these videos. You work at your own pace, do your own designing, and you're going to get awesome results every single time. Okay, so now that we have these cut, I'm going to show you 2 different ways that I've come up with to lay them out. And I'm sure there are a ton more. Go ahead and play around with them and see what you can come up with. And here you will see the 2 different designs that I've come up with. The one on the left with the more prominent red, it actually had, my strip set on that one had 3 rows of red and 2 rows of yellow. The one on the right is the one that I just cut and I rearranged it. Let me see if I can move in for a little bit better. See where my pieces are. This right here is 1/4, and then the other quarter's here, and then the 3rd quarter of the quarter square triangles here, and then this is the 4th one over here. I just turned them to put them together. They kind of, when you put one section of 4 together, which is right here, they kind of give you a log cabin type look to that. you put all 4 of them together, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different squares. This one over here, here is one set of these squares. You can see right here, this is a quarter square triangle, and you can tell that I had red, yellow, red on this one because the red's my outside. The red is my dominant color on this one. Now if you wanted to be really adventurous, and this one, it's the same thing, I just turned them the other direction. So this, to make this square, you have all of the long-edged red in one square, and this one you'll actually need 2 squares off of the strip set to do this. And then this one, when I did this one, these were the opposite squares of those from your quarter square triangle. And the let's see, right here's the hypotenuse, the long side. It's got all 5, red, yellow, red, yellow, red, and this makes 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I put the different sets together. So this is a total of 4 blocks, and I just arranged it that direction. And this one is also a total of 4 blocks, just a different colorway. So there are 2 examples that I've come up with, and you can rearrange them, you can play, and you can put them together whatever way you see fit that pleases you. And go ahead, if you want to post any that you finished, go ahead and do that on our Facebook page, Pine Hollow Quilts, or you can send us an email at pinehollowquilts.com and let us know how you have done yours. Send us some photos and let's see what you've got. Thank you so much for watching, and please be sure to sign up to get notified of future videos. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.